This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to a special 30-minute edition of Here and Now on this holiday Monday. I'm Peter Cowan in St. John's. We also want to welcome viewers in Prince Edward Island who are joining us tonight. We'll have your local news and weather as well, but we begin with more emergency room closures in Newfoundland and Labrador. The emergency room in Whitburn will be closed this week. Eastern Health says the ER at the Dr. William H. Newhook Community Health Centre will reopen next Monday. It's been closed for several months now, and the health authority has been extending that closure on a weekly basis. The U.S. Memorial Health Center in St. Lawrence will be closed until Wednesday. Virtual emergency rooms are in place in Harbour Breton and Port Saunders today, with anyone needing medical emergency attention to call 911 or go to the nearest open ER. Well, Hockey Canada is cutting off financial support. Hockey Newfoundland and Labrador is cutting off financial support to Hockey Canada. Hockey NL came under fire last week for not being more critical of Hockey Canada in the wake of a national sexual assault scandal that's seen many major sponsors bow out. Former Premier, you just saw him there, and lifelong hockey player Dwight Ball told Here Now on Friday that Hockey NL's silence could be viewed as support. Just hours later, Hockey NL announced it will not be submitting players' fees to the governing body. In a short statement released Friday night, Hockey NL says it will continue to monitor the independent review being conducted by former Supreme Court Justice Thomas Cromwell. In the meantime, it says it will not be sending Hockey Canada its participant assessment fees, which amount to $3 per player. As we've reported, Hockey NL says it will also offer sexual violence prevention training to some of its coaches. Hockey NL continues to ignore CBC's requests for an interview. Well, now to the ongoing cleanup on the south coast of Newfoundland. The Salvation Army is changing its focus in Port aux Basques. In the last 2 weeks since Fiona, the group has been providing meals and helping clear up debris. Now it's shifting to supporting residents returning to their homes.
We're kind of pivoting now to I guess, support services in the sense that where people are looking for, or who've gone back to their homes, are looking for items to restock their shelves, restock their refrigerators, to replace some of the things that are lost. So that's where a lot of the agencies now are starting to kind of look at, and that we can obviously source some of these things and get people back into some normalcy of their lives.
The Salvation Army provided a turkey dinner yesterday for those celebrating Thanksgiving. Harvey says there wasn't a large turnout, and he hopes that means people were able to share the day with family and friends. Well, Prince Edward Island has seen plenty of fallout in the wake of Fiona. Over 4,000 homes and businesses on that island are still without power. Maritime Electric says there are now 267 crews out on PEI roads. The goal is still to have power restored to all individual customers by Friday at the latest.
Started doing individuals over the weekend. So when I say individuals, you could look out your window and all your neighbors could be on, and it could be you for whatever reason. It could be a fuse, could be a transformer, it just depends what it is. And so, right now, based on all the numbers that we have, that are about 4,000, we're still targeting for Friday, and very optimistic about that. And probably earlier or midweek, I'll have a better indication depending on how many to get on today.
Prince Edward Islanders impacted by Fiona are now eligible for another $500 in financial assistance through the Canadian Red Cross. That's in addition to the $250 that was previously given out. The new $500 payment is open to everyone, but it's going to be decided based on need. Those who have not already registered with the Red Cross can do that online or at reception centres in Charlottetown or Montague.
$250 was the Canadian Red Cross administering that on behalf of Prince Edward Island government. Today's launch of the $500 is actually through appeal funds. Canadians have been more than generous and continue to be generous in support of Atlantic Canada of their time in need.
Well, in other news, after Russian missiles rained down on the capital of Ukraine last night, a Newfoundlander who got a little too close for comfort is feeling thankful. Lauren Gowdy is a Pentecostal pastor from Grand Falls, Windsor. He was right in the middle of it, and as Ryan Cook reports, this isn't the closest he's come to the war.
It's a scene everyone in Kyiv hoped they'd never see again. Deadly explosions rocked the capital city today. And it's something Lauren Gowdy hoped he'd escaped after spending recent weeks dodging bombs in more dangerous areas like Donetsk and Kharkiv.
I came back late last night figuring, hey man, I'm going to get a good night's sleep, and then I wake up, there's bombs going off here in the city. The person I stayed with, we went out to the kitchen, looked out over the city. We're on the 18th floor, and you see these plumes of smoke just rising up into the air.
At least 11 people were killed and at least 64 others were wounded in the early morning attacks on cities across the country. The Russian president says these attacks hit strategic targets, but like previous attacks on Kyiv, civilians were in the crosshairs.
The bombs are hitting indiscriminately in areas that just don't make sense: hospitals, apartment buildings, and shopping centers. It just don't make sense to me, and the people are very fearful of the terrorists coming their way.
Gowdy is a former teacher and became a pastor 6 years ago. He went to Ukraine soon after the invasion began, initially on a humanitarian mission and later joining Ukrainian forces on drone missions.
We just had to scramble to get here. Bombs are falling on us.
As soon as our drones are down, we have to pack up quickly and go. And of course, we're not as fast as we would like to be. And we've been bombed several times, running for the ditch. In one case in particular, we had to run to a root cellar, and that was our safe haven.
Part of Gowdy's midlife career change comes from his late son, Corporal Jonathan Gowdy. He was killed in 2013 in a motorcycle crash while on leave from Afghanistan. His father was forever affected by a story Jonathan told before his death.
There'd be children in the gutters and in the streets, and they'd be hungry, they'd be begging for food and stuff like that. And John would say we would always give them, something. He would always have maybe a bar or a bag of chips and, that kind of stuff. And it really impacted me that he would do that, my son.
Now the older Gowdy does the same, handing out food to those who need it most. Ukrainians worry these attacks might be the start of a new chapter in the war, but Gowdy's story is coming to an end. He's heading home at the end of October, eager to see his wife, daughter, and grandchildren for the first time in 7 months. He says he'll never forget his time in Ukraine, and he's confident the country will persevere.
This nation is polarized. It's come together in such a way I've never witnessed before. And, they're going to win the war.
Ryan Cook, CBC News, St. John's.
Congratulations on the Tely 10!
The 94th annual Tely 10 was in St. John's over the weekend. The road race usually takes place in July, but was rescheduled for the fall because of scorching summer temperatures.
Champion, Jordan Fjord!
I knew I could put myself in the mix, but I've been doing a lot of longer runs, much longer runs, so I didn't know I had the gears for today, but yeah, maybe those hills helped me out a bit. Yeah, it was good.
It feels great. It's always a really nice feeling to win and run your best. It doesn't matter when it is to me. I'm just going to hopefully be able to line up and compete and run my best.
The event was just super. I mean, the weather cooperated, and talking to a lot of the runners, they felt that this was probably one of the best races ever. No, it's interesting because what happened, we had roughly 2750 in July, and then of course a lot of people couldn't make it, couldn't come back, and we issued refunds and all that type of stuff. We did open up a new registration in October, and basically it pretty well worked out. What we lost, we gained in October, so our numbers are the same as they were in July. Yeah. It looks like we're going to be moving the Tely to the month of June. September is hurricane season, as you all know, and October there are some other races that have been established long before us, so we don't want to interfere. So it looks like we're going to be going with a June Tely 10.
Congratulations!
We've had so much help over the years with our volunteers, and this year was no exception. So an event like this could never happen without them. So hats off to my volunteers.
While the Tely wasn't the only race held over the weekend, over 100 runners took part in the Trapline Marathon in Happy Valley Goose Bay, running a variety of distances. Richard Lewis was the full marathon winner, and get this, he came in nearly 1 hour ahead of the second place finisher. Well, from one sport to another, vegetable growers in other parts of the country can get very competitive this time of year. Here in Newfoundland and Labrador, there are no giant pumpkin contests, at least not yet. but one couple in Clarenville hopes to change that. Here now's Enrique Wilhelm visited the pair and their Gourdzilla. Take a look.
That's Gordy. It's the pumpkin we've been growing this year. Started around May. And he's finally today, he was measured, weighed around 863 pounds. I think it was the second week of June we planted it outside, and it was still a bit cool. The pumpkin likes it really warm, so we used the heating coil from the roof for melting ice, put it in the ground to heat the ground up, and he was growing in that until at least July, beginning of July, when the ground was warm enough. I put a plastic greenhouse over him when it started getting too much rain or too cold, because even too much rain when we had that hurricane, there's so much roots, and it's such a big plant that it'll take all the water it possibly can and send it to that pumpkin fruit, and it'll explode. It'll actually break it right in half.
So how do you feel about your backyard being taken up by a pumpkin?
Well,
So you love it.
yes, I love it. I love it. Yeah, and it's going to be even bigger next year. So, no, it's great.
I'm going to double the size of the backyard, right, honey?
Yes.
And we're going to move things around a little bit, and I'm going to have hopefully a little over 1,000 square feet next year, so 1,600-pound pumpkin should be easily achievable.
And if anybody's interested in doing this, he's going to have a whole lot of pumpkin seeds.
Yeah.
So
we're going to give away the seeds so
yeah,
anybody's interested.
There's a group, Growing Giant Pumpkins in Newfoundland on Facebook.
I think we're going to try to carve it. We'll see. Krista wanted me to. She mentioned several times about hollowing it out and floating it across the pond.
They do it in Nova Scotia, and it looks like a lot of fun.
It looks like a lot of fun watching other people do it. Then the guys at work said, well, we're Newfoundlanders. We don't paddle. They want me to scully it across the pond with a scullion oar. So I don't know.
What's kind of the reaction you've gotten from the community and from neighbors? What are you hearing from people?
I go to the grocery store probably every second morning, and I should be in and out in 15 minutes, and I'm half an hour or more. Everybody is, how big is the pumpkin now? How's the pumpkin doing? How's Gourdzilla? You got the pumpkin. People I don't know, you have the pumpkin, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Everywhere.
It's great. I love it. I love that she gets the attention, not me.
Well, turning now to some sports news out of PEI, the under-15 girls soccer team played in the gold medal game at the national championships this morning, also hosted in PEI. The team lost 2-0 to Manitoba, but that means they're taking home the silver medal. Their coach wants players to keep their heads held high.
Historic run for PEI at this level for sure. I don't think anyone has finished second. So, I mean, we put PEI in the map, I hope, and I hope this trend continues.
Well, staying with soccer, congratulations to the team from Holy Cross on becoming the first soccer team from Newfoundland and Labrador to win the Jubilee Trophy. It's the top prize in women's amateur soccer in Canada. Look at that, some pretty proud people. Holy Cross captured the trophy yesterday in Vaughan, Ontario. It was a 3-0 win over London Alliance FC. Way to go.
We've got flurries in Labrador coming in tomorrow. We'll tell you more about that and some of these showers after this. Good evening, everyone, and a special hello to our viewers joining us from Prince Edward Island tonight. I'm Heather Gillis, filling in for Ashley Braweiler. Tonight, we should have some scattered showers over Newfoundland, some flurries into Labrador. It should be a little cloudy in Prince Edward Island tonight with a few clouds. So let's take a closer look at how things are going to shape up for Newfoundland tonight. For St. John's, 6 degrees. It should be cooler in low-lying areas with some showers in Marystown as well, persisting across the south coast of the island and into the west coast, where we should pick up about 2 to 4 millimeters of rain, 5 to 10 on some parts of the northern peninsula. Clouds in Labrador overnight with temperatures, 0, 1, 2 degrees, and there you go. The flurries in Labrador City Wabash area with the winds picking up there. So looking at our future tracker again, a little closer look at Newfoundland and Labrador, we see those showers. That's tonight. They're going to be moving across the island with some of this snow moving into Labrador West by the early morning hours when you're getting ready to get up. Throughout the day, that snow is going to push through central Labrador, where in Happy Valley Goose Bay it should be primarily a rain event with flurries. In higher elevations, we've got some showers then for southeastern Newfoundland and into the northern peninsula. You can see that push through the west coast as well into Tuesday evening. So let's take a closer look at how things are going to shape up tomorrow for St. John's. It looks like we are going to have a chance of showers with a mix of sun and cloud tomorrow. Temperatures between 12, 14 degrees, a mix of sun and cloud down here on the southern Avalon and in Marystown on the Burin Peninsula. A mix of sun and cloud with some showers expected here as well. Moving on into central Newfoundland, tomorrow looks like a lovely day for you with a mix of sun and cloud and some sun, 12 degrees. Little warmer in Harbour Breton, but a chance of showers there as well. Things clearing as we get into the southwest coast and into parts of the west coast. But as we move up the northern peninsula, we start to see some of that rain. 10 degrees here, dropping off to 8 here on the northern peninsula. And you can see that rain moving in from Labrador from this system right here. Into Labrador, cloudy and Nain, a mix of rain and snow for Churchill Falls and Makkovik there, and into Labrador City, primarily a rain event for Happy Valley Goose Bay as well, like we said earlier on that future tracker. Taking a look at our 5-day forecast now for central Newfoundland, it looks like you should have a beautiful dry week ahead of you with temperatures in the teens. For western Newfoundland, a little bit of precipitation to start off your week, but clearing off towards the end of it. Again, temperatures in the mid-teens. Thursday, Friday looking lovely, and into Labrador, a little more precipitation Thursday, Friday in western Labrador, looking like nice days for you. Similar in eastern Labrador. Now to our friends in Prince Edward Island. It looks like you're going to have an absolutely beautiful week. Lots of sun in your forecast Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, getting up to 19 degrees on Friday under some cloud with showers possible on Saturday. Now taking a look at our weather photo. Isn't this just beautiful? I like to call that one Thanksgiving Tranquility, and that comes from Robert Burge. That is the exploits in central Newfoundland. And if you have any photos that you would like to send to us, you can do so at nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Philanthropist John Perlin has died. He served on the boards of dozens of organizations. He was also the Queen's secretary in Canada. He was 88 years old. Perlin's career started back in the 1960s as Joey Smallwood's Director of Cultural Affairs.
Provincial government has demonstrated its particular interest in the arts in recent years with the impetus of the centennial by building arts and culture centres. As you're probably aware, there are two in existence now.
John Perlin was the man who ran them, forming new cultural policy for a new province. Even Codco had to take a crack at him in 1976 because of his position.
I'm John Perlin.
I'm John Perlin.
And I'm speaking for culture.
But he's also known for his philanthropy, key to getting the Fluvarium built, his work with the Vera Perlin Society, named after his mother, and dozens of other groups.
As captain of the course,
Then there's his 70-year involvement with the St. John's Regatta. He was key to getting Royal added to the name of the event in the 1990s. Earlier this year, he was named honorary president.
I mean, I've been involved in 2 royal visits in Newfoundland.
And when the Royals came to Canada, he was keeping their visits on track, serving as the Queen's secretary in Canada. Just last month, he did his last interview, remembering Queen Elizabeth.
She's very kind and courteous like that.
Tim Powers is John Perlin's cousin, and he joins us from Ottawa. So first of all, condolences to your loss.
Thank you, Peter. It's a big loss. I mean, everybody knows John's accomplishments. Not everybody knows it's his humanity, and he was somebody who was very cherished in our family for years now. Has been my mother's dinner companion night after night after night. So he's somebody we're certainly going to miss greatly.
Let's start by talking a bit about some of those accomplishments. What do you think the biggest difference he's made to Newfoundland and Labrador is?
I think he epitomized duty and service on steroids. I mean, Peter, he died on Sunday, so yesterday. He was still serving. He was still on boards. I got a lovely note from Donna Butt today telling me he was still the chair of the Rising Tide Theatre. He was still very involved in his beloved Fluvarium. He never stopped giving back and trying to make Newfoundland better. And I think you have to say that those are lessons he took from his parents. Albert Perlin, well-known historical figure in our province. His mother, Vera Crosby Perlin, also well-known for all the work that she's done to help people. And John just picked up where they left off and served until his last breath.
We can't even list all of the boards or committees that he has touched over the years. It's such a long list. Why do you think he was so motivated to put his energies into that? Because he could have gone into business. He could have, channeled these energies into all sorts of other things. Why did he pick so many charities?
I think it was the sense of satisfaction that he got seeing progress being made in different fronts, whether they be in small steps or big steps. I mean, look at what we all know in the city. He was very involved in the trail system that goes all along Rennie's River and Kitty Vitty Lake and all the way through. Maybe he could have gone into business and made millions of dollars, but arguably that trail has impacted hundreds of thousands of people and made a difference. You ask people in the arts community, they'll tell you from advice to mentorship to lending his hand to production. He just couldn't stop trying to advance Newfoundland and Labrador on so many fronts.
Now, he was really proud of his involvement with the royal family.
Yes.
What do you make of his death coming just a few weeks after Queen Elizabeth's?
Well, it's hard not to take some sort of symbolism for this, and I said this to one of your colleagues. It's as if John felt he could go off duty now because he had for so long served the late Queen Elizabeth II, and did serve the King. In fact, he saw the King when he was in Newfoundland in the spring as the Prince. And I think his last public commentary was on this station, talking to your colleague Carolyn about the Queen's passing. And I don't know if I'm a super spiritual guy, but I do think it's fascinating that now that she is gone and her life has lived, someone who stood so close to that family and did so much for that institution in Newfoundland, Labrador, and Canada has also said, okay, I'm all right to go to rest now.
Well, thank you very much for joining us and sharing some of your thoughts.
Thank you, Peter.
And that about does it for us on this holiday Monday. Here and Now we'll be back with a full hour tomorrow. I'll be here hosting it. And of course, for our PEI viewers, Compass will be back to its normal time as well. Ahead in the next half hour in Newfoundland and Labrador, we'll be airing Ruth Lawrence's documentary, A Lot of Love in the Room. It's a celebration of the St. John's International Women's Film Festival, one of the longest running festivals of its kind in the world. The doc explores how the festival has survived and thrived for more than 30 years. For our viewers in PEI, stay tuned for an encore episode of Land and Sea. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Hopefully you got to enjoy your Thanksgiving wherever you are. I'm Peter Cowan. Thanks so much for watching.